Welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I have quite a story for you, quite a story. And I want to bring it back to loneliness. I want to address the need for connection and what it does for me personally, knowing that I belong somewhere, knowing that I'm needed, knowing that I'm wanted somewhere. Um, Here we go. Yesterday, I was walking Autumn yesterday morning. Um, and I decided I was going to walk her over to the elementary school, which is right beside my house. I walked by the voting place and there was literally no line. It was very quiet. And usually those people who stand out front handing out the ballots and stuff like that, like a copy of the ballot so you can see what it looks like before you go in. They were not even like in front of the door anymore. They were in the parking lot. So you didn't even have to walk by them and have people pushing paper at you. So it was just a really calm looking environment. So I continue to walk home. I'm on my street. I'm about halfway up my street, and there's a woman walking towards me. An older woman, in her mid 70s, um, who I was aware, I've never met her before, but I was aware that she has cancer. I'm not quite sure what kind of cancer, but she has been undergoing some pretty aggressive chemo. She had lost her hair, but the hair was growing back. Um, so she's walking towards me, and I was like in the middle of the road. I live at the end of a street, kind of like a cul-de-sac, but not really. Anyway, so I'm walking in the street. She was on the sidewalk. She was walking towards me into the street, and she stopped me and she asked me where we vote. And I said, "Oh, it's right here. It's right beside us at the school." And so she clarified a couple times to make sure it's right here. And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Come with me, come with me." So I'm like, okay. So I turned around, we started walking towards the school. She said she had until, I'm going to summarize as much as I can, because a lot of the conversation was me clarifying what she was saying and her clarifying what I was saying because it was just not fluent English. So she was telling me that it was 11 o'clock. She said she needed to go to the hospital at 12 o'clock to see her doctor. And I said, "Okay, well, there's no line. You'll be fine." And we were about a quarter of the way at this point. It's not even a mile to get over there. It's probably a quarter of a mile, I would say, to walk over there. Yeah, I would say it's about a quarter of a mile, maybe a third. And so we were about, part of the way, and her breathing is picking up. And so I asked her, "Are you okay to walk? Are you okay to walk this distance?" She responded that her doctor wants her to walk. So I said, "Okay." Um, so we walk over, and by the time we get to the school, she's very winded, but she's scurrying along, I mean, she can walk. And but by the time we got over there, I said, "Would you mind if my husband comes to pick us up so you don't have to walk back?" And she said, "Yes, please." So I'm trying to get a hold of my husband, and finally, because he had just gone over to vote, and I could see him walking away while her and I were coming in to the front entrance. And I'm like, he didn't have his phone with him. So I'm thinking he has no idea what's happening right now. Because when I was walking home, I was passing him on his way. And I'm sure he thought I was going to be home when he got back home, and I wasn't there. So the phone rang for him, and I asked him to come pick us up. I told him what happened and I asked him to come pick us up. So he said, sure, he'd be right over. So I walk her in, and she wants me to help her vote, help her fill out the form. And I said I would be happy to. I didn't know if they would let me because I didn't have my ID or anything. So we explained the situation. Mind you, I still had Autumn with me. So we walked into the voting place with Autumn, who, of course, was on her best behavior, very trained, very adorable. So the folks there said that I could fill out an affidavit David and help her vote. So that's what I did. And we by then my husband showed up and took Autumn outside. I think. I'm pretty sure I didn't have her when I was actually helping her vote. So I had asked the woman on the way who she wanted to vote for. No, no, that's not how it happened because I never would ask that. She asked me who I voted for, and I told her I did not want to tell her. And she said, why? I'll tell you. So she told me who she wanted to vote for. And then, and that was before I knew I was going to be helping her vote. And then her phone rang and she was talking to somebody else in Arabic. And I heard her say the person that she was voting for several times. So when we got in there, and we got to the table, the little thing that you vote in, the little booth thing that you vote in, I read the top president part and gave her her options, even though I already know who she wanted to vote for. I gave it to her again because I was trying to make sure she, validated for that would have been like the fourth time who she wanted to vote for. So she said it again. So I colored in the circle. She didn't want to vote on any of the other things that you're asked. And then we went over and she fed the paper into the machine and she turned around and smiled. And I said, congratulations. And she gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And and I was like, what a wonderful experience. Well, it's not over yet, people. So we walk outside and my husband meets us outside with the dog and walks us over to the car. And she insists on trying to get in the back seat while my husband is insisting that she get in the front seat because the dog and I need to get in the back seat. So I have to tell you that this culture, which my husband is has a similar, from a similar background, insists on everything, insistent. It's very difficult to say no. But it's beautiful the way that they insist. It's always in loving kindness that it is insistent. So she's insistent that she needs to sit in the back seat, while he is insistent that she needs to sit in the front seat. So finally he wins. She gets in the front seat and I get in the back seat with the dog because the dog has to go in the back seat. So he's driving her home and we turn onto the street and we are just passing a car and the woman says, so stop. So we stop and we back up. It's his son or her son that we're passing. So we back up, roll the window down. And the guy, I mean, the whole thing was worth it to see this guy's face when we have his mother in our car. So he's like, that's my mom. That's what he says. And it was hilarious. And so I don't know what they spoke in Arabic to each other. And then we went ahead and drove her home, and which was like right up the street. So she's getting out of the car. She's so full of gratitude that she invites us both in for tea. And my husband had to work. And typically, and I actually did this because she told me earlier that she wanted me to come over for tea. And I made an excuse because that's what my nature is to make an excuse to say no. Why would I want to do something uncomfortable or unusual? That's scary and causes me anxiety. So when she had asked me earlier after she voted, you must come over for tea, I said, no, I can't. She says, why? She always asks why if you say no. And I said, because I have to work. Okay, that's a blatant lie. All right. Um, but I was uncomfortable. So I said that. So when she was getting out of the car and she said that we could both come in for a drink, my husband says he has to go back to work, but my wife can. And I was like, so so she gets out. I said, I need to take the dog back home and then I'll come over. So she says, okay, okay. So I bring the dog back home and then I walk over to her house and it's right across the street. So I ring the doorbell. Nobody comes to the door. Finally, I see her in the house and I kind of open the door a little bit. She said, yes, yes, come, come. So I came in and we sat down. Okay, the house was beautiful, like freaking stunning, beautiful, like super modern. I thought our house was modern. I think they may have us beat, but I won't tell my husband that. So we sit down and she starts to tell me about her cancer. And she's telling me about we made it back in time before her taxi came to pick her up to go to the doctor's appointment. So she's telling me about her chemotherapy regimen. And she had been going twice a week, and then she went to once a week, and then once a week. Once what? Twice a week, once a week, and now she's at once a month. So she's about 3 months in. So her hair is probably not even an inch long. So she just started doing this once a month thing. And she was telling me about how the chemotherapy causes her lots of digestive issues, just to put it nicely. That's not the way that she explained it to me. She actually went into detail. She actually called her son to ask him what the word for diarrhea was. Okay. So she's telling me about this. She's showing me this big, gigantic bag, like one of those reusable shopping bags, full bag of medication. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And so she has medication for the all the digestive issues, including it causes her to throw up. So I asked her how her appetite was, and she said that I don't know. I think we lost kind of communication there. I don't know that either. I didn't know what she was saying or she didn't know what I was saying. But she has a hard time keeping food down, is what it sounded like. So while I was sitting there, she took a couple pills in preparation for the chemotherapy that was about to happen. I think that's what was happening. And so I talked to her a lot about her daily life. Um, and then she was telling me how she has a headache every day. And I was like, I'm going to tell her that I have a headache every day too. I thought about not telling her because I wasn't sure. I wasn't telling her to turn the attention onto me. I was telling her because I wanted her to know she wasn't alone. So I told her, and she was like, she said, oh, okay, do you take Tylenol? I said, it doesn't work. And I told her there isn't a medication that works. I I didn't feel it. I thought it was too complex of a conversation to tell her about the Emgality injection and all of that for the extreme pain. But I did tell her that the headache doesn't go away. And she was asking me about when we were talking about food, about if I go shopping at the grocery store. And I said, no, I can't do that. It hurts my head. And she said, why? So I was trying to explain to her that movement hurts my head. I told the best way, she finally got it when I said, when I'm riding in the car, I have to close my eyes. And I told her, I can't watch TV. I showed her my phone and I moved, like I scrolled it and I said, I can't look at that. It hurts my head. And so then she understood, I think. And she was asking me about what doctors I go to. And I told her about the many doctors. And she said she didn't work. I said, I don't work too. And I asked her what hobbies she has. And she pretty much said she uses the iPad. And she says she listens to things on the iPad. And I said, do you listen to books? And she didn't understand that because but you read books, right? And it seemed like she didn't understand that. So she said, show me. So she gave me the iPad and I showed her the Audible app. And I said, they read you books. They read to you and you can listen to the books. So she was very intrigued by that. I couldn't put it on her iPad because I didn't have her iPad password and she didn't know what it was. I said, ask your son, she lives with her son, ask your son to help you. It's called Audible. So she said, okay, okay. And so she says that she watches TV, she goes on the iPad. And so I told her what my hobbies are, what my hobbies have been in recovery. Um, I said that I've been sewing, crocheting, um, and painting. Those were the three that I mentioned. And I said that I can do small things. When I look at small things, it does not hurt my head. So she looks at me and she smiles. And I forgot one thing before I go on to the next phase of the adventure. Before that happened, I was glancing over at some pictures on a table, and she said, that's my daughter. She died. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I went over there and looked at her. Beautiful, beautiful young woman. And she said that she died. I don't know how she died. I didn't feel that it was my business to ask her. And so the woman started, she had tears in her eyes. And I said, when did she die? And she said, 2020. And she said, when she died, her whole life changed. And her cancer started after she died, after her daughter died. And it was very clear to me what she was trying to say was that um, it was devastating and that she has not been able to stop grieving. Um, and that was really from body language. She was talking a little bit, but that was what she was saying to me. So that was really, I said to her, oh, this is the order. So I had been telling her about the hobbies and looking at small things. And then she was telling me about her daughter. And then she said, she was telling me that everybody is dying. So many people, they die. I think she's at that age really where her friends are probably passing away. And unfortunately, this daughter of hers passed away. And I said, after she was saying that her life changed, I said, so much pain, so much pain, I said to her. And she looked at me and she smiled and she said, come with me. Come, 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 come. And I was like, okay. So she walks me upstairs, but before she does, she walks into the kitchen. She says, for me to eat a banana. And I said, no, thank you. And she said, eat a banana. And I said, no, thank you. She said, why? I was like, because I'm not hungry. Uh, and she said, it's just a banana. And I was like, why don't I want the banana? It's because I'm uncomfortable. That's why, because I didn't feel right taking their food. Like I didn't even really understand why I was there. So she lets me go without the banana. So she wants me to walk upstairs with her to her bedroom. And I'm like, oh dear, what's happening? So we walk up, again, just beautiful house. And we walk up into her bedroom. She's got all this jewelry laying across her bed. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to end well. Um, and thank goodness I had been exposed to this culture through my husband's family, this culture of giving, this culture of insistence and just love for anyone. It's really, I was explaining to my husband later yesterday evening, and I'm like, it is it is unmatchable, this culture of giving and love. It is not something that I have been witness of in my lifetime until met people from these other countries. These people are so giving. My experiences were very similar to what I was experiencing with her when I went upstairs. So we sit down, she hands me this bundle of necklaces that were all knotted up. And she asked me if my husband could fix it. And I said, I will fix it. And she said, you will fix it. And I said, yes, I will fix it. So I started untangling the necklaces. And while I was doing that, she picked up a necklace and was holding it in front of me. And she said, come, 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 come. She must have said come like 20 times. And I looked up at her. She was holding the necklace out. She wanted me to turn around so she could put it on my neck. And I was like, I cannot accept that. I cannot accept that. And so the insistence, um, I tried everything in my power to not accept the necklace. And at that point, she was going to be offended if I did not take the necklace. So I turned around and she put the necklace around my neck. And I just I got up and looked in the mirror for her to see my gratitude. And and then I sat back down with her and I said thank you and I continued to try to untangle the necklaces. So I got a few of the necklaces untangled by the time the taxi came to pick her up. And one thing that I forgot to say was that when we were talking in the living room, she and I had told her that I don't work, and she said that she will walk with me to walk my dogs. Because I was telling her how difficult it is for me to walk and how it's hard, it hurts my head. She said, I will walk with you. And I said, okay. And I said, when do you like to walk? In the morning or in the evening? She said, not the morning. So in the afternoon, she wants to walk with me. She said her doctor wants her to walk. And I'm very familiar with this, Mom, if you're listening. I'm very familiar with this. The doctors want um, people to walk, especially as you get older. That is one of the best things you can do is just get outside, not only to be outside and get that, but also to exercise. So I said, okay, I will come get you and we will walk together. So I'm going to do that. Like, I seriously am going to do that. I'm not just saying that. So when the taxi came, I took all of her bags down and I handed it to the taxi driver. This lady, so her name, well, I can't tell you her name because we don't say names here, right? Except for Bailey's and the dogs. So she was walking behind me. She was so flabbergasted that there was a woman who was driving this taxi. It was like a black SUV, like it was a really nice quote unquote taxi. It's something that and it's probably important for me to share this. She told me that her insurance actually pays for her travel to and from the hospital. I didn't know that was possible. So I'm going to look at my insurance because if I can't get a ride to a doctor's appointment, I wonder if I can use this same type of service because I can't drive either, I told her. So anyway, she was so surprised that it was a woman that was driving, and um, so I gave the bags to the woman, and I gave the the older woman a hug, and that was it. That was it. And I went inside, and my husband met me when I went inside, and I was over there for about an hour. So the whole experience was about 2 hours. I had no plans yesterday, and so that ended up being my experience for yesterday. That was my big thing yesterday. I had no idea that I was going to wake up in the morning and be given such a gift. And uh, coincidentally, or not, the this morning's meeting was about fending off loneliness. And I was thinking immediately about how, sorry, my voice is scratchy, how, sorry, being of service is an antidote for loneliness, and connection is the antidote for loneliness. Knowing that we belong somewhere, knowing that we're needed, knowing that we're appreciated, that is the antidote for loneliness. And if I was still drinking, I would not have seen what this woman was giving me as a gift. I would have seen this as maybe trouble, maybe exhaustion, maybe just something I don't want to do. I wouldn't have turned off my wanter. I would have done minimal. My reactions to her probably knowing from experience listening to my husband and how this culture um what the expectations are and stuff, I would have offended her with my no thank yous and my no, I'm not coming over for tea, no this, no that, because I was a no person when I was drinking. And being sober, like this is another gift of sobriety to be able to make a connection with somebody that otherwise I would have never had a reason to connect with. And yet, aren't her and I so alike? You know? Um, we have different experiences, but aren't we so alike? And today, I don't feel a lick of loneliness. Today I feel connected. Um, I made another friend, and that is a gift. That's a gift for me. So, I hope you enjoyed my story. It was well worth. I was going to record this yesterday, but I thought, no, no, let me wait till tomorrow so I get to enjoy the story again, and relive it in my mind. So I am planning on walking over there tomorrow, to today, this afternoon, and seeing if she wants to go for a walk. I don't know if she had chemo yesterday or not. I don't know if she was just talking to her doctor or she actually had chemo. But I think I'm going to go over there and ring the doorbell and see if she wants to go for a walk. I mean, why not, right? Why not? So that's one of my to-dos today, the most important one. So thank you for listening today. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.